I'll tell you, getting ready for the news is just something that's an ongoing, pretty much 24-hour-a-day process for me, because I even tend to dream about politics and geopolitics and issues and what's happening in the world. I eat, drink, and sleep this information because this is reality. Studying how the world works, the mysteries of the universe, is not a job, it is an adventure. And it is engrossing, and I would take reality over delusion and illusion any day. That's what this comes down to. The system is selling delusion, selling fairy tales, selling lies, and then telling people, don't listen to the conspiracy theorists that are questioning the admitted, on record, fraud that is the globalist system. And I'll go back to the big news of yesterday. 6% approval rating in Gallup for Congress, the lowest ever. I have never heard of a government that unpopular in history. I think the headline is criminal U.S. government or occupied U.S. government most unpopular in history. Of course they're acting arrogant. Of course they're acting like they're all-powerful. Of course they act like it's ridiculous to question them. Oh, you don't think one guy killed Kennedy? When 90% or more know that it was a conspiracy. It's all a giant con game. And they know it's a con game. The people working in the system know it's a con game. And it's all a giant confidence act where they sit up there and act all confident and try to keep this whole ball rolling. And then as the society implodes and as people become more corrupt, institutions become colleges, think tanks of evil, think tanks of fraud. And then suddenly there's giant waves of corruption that want to basically take over new territory, and they will extinct all real commerce and production. That's why Venezuela now only has power a few hours a day in their major cities, and now they can't even get the power on half the time for the socialist leader to address everyone on the big screen TVs they've handed out that they stole from private importers. And you can look at what comes out of the end of something. You can look at what the fruits are of gangs, of collectivism, of centralization, and the wages of it are giant steaming piles of poison. Not big steaming piles of horse crap. No, because that is actually valuable. You can fertilize with that. That's it's not right to call it BS, because it's not BS. It is a negative value. It's not just neutral value. It doesn't have a low value. It has a negative value. So of course it runs around with high-tech propaganda, telling the public that it's done a great thing, but it's all a fraud, and it's all coming to an end. The question is, how bad is it going to be coming to an end? We're going to have a civil war, going to have World War III, going to have bioweapons released as the elite try to maintain control and play God and merge with machines and all this delusional crud they're involved in? Or do we just have a major awakening to this, politically, spiritually, culturally, racially as a human race, and not repeat the worst disasters of history with a high-tech icing? Because you're going to have a high-tech nightmare, technocratic icing to this. It's going to make it 1,000 times worse than we've ever seen.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done's been right.
We've got the TV newsman and presenter Lionel, syndicated radio host and TV host in New York, joining us because he's a former lawyer and prosecutor in the state of Florida, to break down just a whole host of issues that are unfolding around the country. Always great to have him pop in with us for the last 40 minutes of the second hour. Kurt Nimmo is going to talk about attacks on the First Amendment and free speech worldwide and moves to tax the internet. that are now being proposed and moved forward very aggressively with the Supreme Court's help. He's going to be joining us in the last 15 minutes of the transmission today or so, and we will have open phones. Now here's the deal. I have masses of news, and I'm going to try again to just give you the headlines and then burrow into some of these top stories in detail. But I want to talk about the nature of psychology and the nature of how people work, because once you know how to push people's buttons, the average person is totally unconscious, and you can literally walk up to them, men and women, but especially women, and program them. You can literally, absolutely manipulate about 80% of people. And I've just come to the conscious realization that I never do that. I'm open when I try to get people to wake up and realize what's happening, but it fundamentally comes down with this broadcast and Infowars.com and everything we do here. Because I was thinking this morning about what is my main mission? What do I stand for? What do people that I like to be around stand for? And it's for being real and trying to unlock humanity, empower humanity, uplift humanity, and uplift ourselves individually as well to build a truly better world through free association and free will. And I know that's really a simple statement, but it's also profound. That most people do not operate from that position. They've been such failures throughout life because the system's designed to disempower, or at least they believe they're failures, that they actually believe that the fraud of the system is going to empower them, and that they believe a gangster scam culture is really what successful people do because the establishment has put that idea out, and that they're converting the economy over to an unfair, fraudulent crime system because it's the ultimate form of discrimination, because the globalists control the police and the courts and the systems, and so they can selectively enforce wherever they want. And once you give into a fraudulent, corrupt system and believe that's the way to go, then you've converted and dominated the society. And as things get corrupt, it forces good people to stop working within the system because the system is a fraud, and it's an impossible equation to be successful within the tyranny. And then that implodes things even further, which is actually the end game goal of this parasitic mindset that has plagued humanity since our first agrarian civilizations were formed 10,000 years ago. Humans are communicating at a Stone Age level of leadership actually wanting people to have food and water and to find the game and to find the good areas in the valleys to plant crops and to survive. And so the average person at a subconscious level really looks at leaders as if they want to help the tribe. But from the time of the ancient priest class being set up, there's always been groups that have learned how humans work and then sabotaged from birth successive generations to domesticate their fellow humans as slaves. And again, this is a well-known historical fact. I'm not giving you some revelation here, except that our whole civilization is now developed around this to a very high order, and the public has been turned into the most dumb, servile, shallow, wicked, evil, grasping, foolish, unhappy, unfulfilled group in preparation for the mass removal of humanity. We must first be spiritually and physically broken so that we will not organize against the final takeover with an establishment that is the worst of the worst, who've been smoking their own political poison, and who actually believe, like the pharaohs and the British royalty and the Roman emperors, and every other elite, the Aztec kings and their priest class, that they are going to become God in their narcissistically driven megalomania. And I can see the entire historical chain of events and exactly where it's leading, and it is spectacularly evil. It is going to be the manifestation of the worst demonic trances and hallucinations from the literal dimension of Hades itself manifest in the third dimension. Because humans are designed to be able to build in the image of God. We are creators. And now evil is going to jack into that, and actually for the first time, evil will not be a pure destroyer. It will be a builder of total abomination. The devil wants to be God, and the devil is going to be given the power through human slaves to be a creator. And this is going to be spectacular. They say that on the Isle of Patmos, John the Revelator marveled with his mouth hanging open. I can imagine, because I can see it as well, just politically, scientifically, by being immersed in it historically. I can see the vision of the top New World Order. I have seen where they're taking us, and it is beyond my even comprehension. I can focus in on pieces of it and its dark fractal vortices, but to actually pull back, it is a hallucination out of the mind of total abomination. Because I could sit here and analyze all this news for you. You notice the system wants to turn everything good on its head. It wants to pull down everything beautiful. It wants to destroy and deceive and betray for betrayal's sake. And I look out at our enemies, and they are so weak. They are so hollow. They are empty. I don't even have the capacity to hate them anymore. Because I'm not looking at people. I'm staring through and seeing they are biological androids. Literal, unconscious replicants. Who have been completely programmed and who have given up their free will by fraud from birth in front of the television, inculcated with false fantasies, and the average person in their own brainwaves is in a dreamlike waking trance. And that's why you can walk up and literally program 80+% of the public. But I won't do it. I will not sit there with someone else, because I'm losing my soul when I do it. I can feel it if I sit there and actually manipulate people. And then I see other people trying to manipulate me, and I don't even know how to respond, because it's literally like an animated meat puppet. A zombie. That's where the zombie archetype is. They're telling you you're a zombie. And that's where it's set. And you look at the typecast police, the typecast groups of any type, and you can literally tell who someone is, what they do, and I can walk over and ask them. It freaks people out, freaks my wife out. Across the board, I can guess what their profession is, even if they're not dressed in any way like it, just by their bearing and manner, because they've literally gone under corporate programming, and I recognize the exact tailor of their programming, the cut of it. And all I want is to empower humanity. All I want is reap what you sow. All I want is to see people flourish and be successful. And then I see the system full of a bunch of cowardly, fearful, delusional, grasping nobodies who've made themselves nobodies because they've been captured in the web of deceit. And then I see all of my own weakness and all of my own worldliness, but I do see it falling away. Like one of the crew described it like rocket boosters falling off the shuttle as it gets ready to escape the atmosphere. And I just really want to see you win. I want to see you succeed. I want to see humanity spread through the universe and really become what God has envisioned for us. And I know God's vision for humanity because God's told us his vision for humanity. And it's prosperity and it's blessings stacked on top of blessing. But to do that, we have to have free will. And so that's why evil is allowed to operate. And people can call God cruel. It's not cruel. It is free will as God tests souls that for eternity will serve in projects at a galactic, subatomic, pan-universal system of things that we cannot even comprehend. This is boot camp. Many anthropologists and archaeologists believe that before man even discovered the power to harness and use fire, we were involved in agrarian activities. That is, taking the seeds of plants and then replanting them to produce more. The very foundation of our modern civilization and human culture is centered around the planting and cultivation of edible plants.
Here are some of the amazing deals at InfoWars Seed Center at InfoWarsShop.com.
The Survival Seed Vault by My Patriot Supply features only the finest survival heirloom seeds for a robust and hardy garden, even in the toughest times. We also have starter varieties of the deluxe seed packages for fruit, salad, salsa, peppers, medical herbs, and more.
Go to the InfoWars Seed Center at InfoWarsShop.com.
And remember, the revolution against tyranny is growing. Many anthropologists. Alex Jones here, back live. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday edition. I went into preacher mode. I meant to go into news mode because believe me, it's there's a lot of it. It's just when you see the systematic madness of the system, you have to understand it is organized evil. It is systematic. But in the general public, it is a bunch of sleepwalking, unconscious people that have no idea the type of attack they're under by social engineers that want to keep you unconscious so you can literally be a slave controlled by their programming under their trance, under their spell. That's what it is. America is under the spell of Hollywood, under the spell of Obama. But they're beginning to break that spell, and so they're moving on to new front people, new pushers of fraud. We've got to get back to the ancient common sense, and you've got to get back to following your gut. And people's gut says the government's evil. 94% of Americans in Gallup say the government's illegitimate, and they don't like it. This government is not a government. It has been hijacked. It has been inverted. It is the opposite of what it was set up to do. Of course they demonize the Bill of Rights and Constitution. Of course they demonize the founders who were trailblazers in their day of liberty and who led the way for even more freedom. Because it's the antidote to the ancient poison of slavery that rears its head in 1,000 different ways. So they only teach you the last slavery or the last tyranny. So you're looking for it to come in the uniform of Adolf Hitler. Or you're looking for it to come in the uniform of a Klansman. Or you're looking for it to come in the uniform of Joseph Stalin, when it's in the uniform of nameless, faceless, systematic bureaucrats with the regulations written by offshore, above-the-law banks. Let me just give you headlines. I'm going to do this, okay? I'm not going to comment on the stories. I'm going to do it. No security ever built into Obamacare's site, CNBC. We told you that. That's a fact. It was written to steal your data. Piers Morgan, the perfect Barack Obama, who's a perfect physical specimen. We have video of that, and now he's going to get another tickle up his leg. Obama's going to go on Chris Matthews' Slimeball show. Why are so many wealthy people buying futuristic, high-tech security bunkers? That's up on Infowars.com. Why are the establishment digging in? Because most of them got their wealth through fraud and government contracts, or they made their money the honest way and know that the elite are going to sick the unwashed masses on them during the re-engineering that is the implosion. Let's continue. Oh, yes, that's the great re-education camp that America's being set up to be. You think it's bad now? This is only the beginning. And I'm not trying to scare you, folks. It's all coming, like a hurricane coming in. You think the winds are high now? It hadn't hit yet. I can't choose reality up here and just tell you everything's roses. It isn't. But it's the desperate test that will purify and cleanse us and decide who we are. Let's continue. Ohio court. Polite drivers are not suspicious. That's right. That's in the Homeland Security Training Manual. Is anyone nice to police or polite is a terrorist? You think I'm joking? Look it up. But being rude is being a terrorist. Or having a cell phone, or wearing jeans, or having children, or being a priest, or having a baby stroller. I'm not kidding. These are all actual quotes. Being a gun owner, being a veteran, being conservative, being a Ron Paul supporter, being an Alex Jones listener, having a tattoo of the Gadsden flag. I mean, there's literally hundreds of these FBI training flyers. Venezuela's socialists can't keep the lights on. Country with largest oil reserves in the world can't provide rudimentary service. Yes, Venezuela's gotten far worse since socialism came in. It worked for a while, always does, and then kills incentive. And then you don't even have a pot to you-know-what in.
Now you can watch the InfoWars Nightly News streaming live as it happens for free.
Check it out at Infowars.com/show.